Welcome back to another Canon Quick Shot, a quick review of a non-comic book or superhero movie. I'm your host, Terry, and today I'm talking about Downsizing by Alexander Payne and starring Matt Damon. So, I was definitely late to the party with this one. When the movie was announced, I thought it was a very cool concept, but it came out to some negative reviews, and I thought, okay, that's one movie I don't have to see right away. And I honestly wasn't going to see it before doing my top 10. But I happened to be around the movies and the time slot worked, so I got to see it. And I love this movie. And I think it might actually be in my top 10. I'm happy I actually got to see it. And it's interesting hearing kind of the not backlash, but the negative thoughts against it when I really enjoyed it. I think everybody in my theater really enjoyed it too. So, this is a story in which the world has perfected technology to shrink organic matter. And what happens is the world over time builds these colonies, and they pretty much make it accessible for people to shrink themselves. And it is marketed as a way to help the environment, and you kind of being like a hero because you're reducing your impact on the environment. But in reality, it's people trying to take the little money they have in the world right now and turn that into millions of dollars in the small world. So it follows Matt Damon and his wife, who decide, they're trying to make ends meet and they're trying to move and all this stuff. And they decide to downsize, as they call it, so they can live the fancy life pretty much. And then his wife ends up chickening out and not doing it, and then we kind of follow him. So a couple cool things is, like, I heard that premise before, and then when they finally dropped the trailers or whatnot, it seemed like they were not putting that part about his wife not doing it. And I got worried that they kind of cut it out, or they're not going to market it, or it's not going to really be a big thing in the movie. But then they eventually started showing the trailers, and you saw that part, because I thought that was a key part. Instead of just making it a cool look at the small world type movie, it was something a little deeper than that. But when you watch the movie, it's so much deeper, actually. It's a lot more than even that. It gets so deep. So this definitely might be a little longer, by the way. I apologize. But there's a lot of things I like about this movie. And of course, when the critic rating is so low, opposite of mine, I have to kind of really talk about what I saw. So for me, I would say, this movie not only, gives you a unique premise, which it does, but it dives into it so well and creates a world. Like, I love, I was a business major. I love business. I love, kind of looking at, when you make cool ideas and evolution in business. That stuff kind of, that's just the thing I like. And so when you watch this movie, you just see how much thought went into this. Like, if this actually was possible, how would companies capitalize on this? How would corporations be able to sell and market this, and what type of things would they do, and what type of arguments would they have? There's so much in this, and it's so good because it's not only the world they build for the downsizing, but it's also the real world and how they're affected by people downsizing. It affects the economy. And then there's a cool scene. I don't really want to spoil anything, but it's not that big. It's a cool scene where they're having a going away party. And, it's a guy who's drunk at the bar, and he's like, "Oh, I heard you're downsized." And he tries to start crap because, these people are kind of looked at less than, because then some people are like, "Well, do you think you should have the same right to vote as me and everything when you're 1/8 the person?" And it brings up some interesting concepts that would happen. So I think for me, when you set an interesting kind of science fiction premise in a movie, but then you follow through with logically, how would the world react? That automatically gets you huge points with me. But then for them to visually show you this world and all the things you can do with it. Like, yeah, you see the gags, with the Absolute vodka bottle and all that. Things are huge, and, But honestly, that exact scene is not even in the movie. And so the movie's not about all those things like, look how big that is compared to, it's not that type of movie. You find out that there's so much in this world because you get to Leisureland, which is the colony that Matt Damon goes to. And this is like the main one, but there's a number of colonies popping up, different themes, everything, where it's just like rich towns or resorts. And so that's the main one. But then you find out that everybody that goes small isn't rich. Like, there was a good line in here where someone says, when you're, it was something about when you go small with a little money, then you're small with a lot of money. And if you go small with no money, then you're just small. And I was like, oh, okay, that was a good line. But then later on, you see there's a bunch of people that went small hoping for a better life, and they're still broke because they didn't have anything. So it don't amount to anything. And so Matt Damon, through a real clever device, they find out that there's not just this Leisureland. There's people that live on the outside of Leisureland. There's people that live out in unprotected areas. There's basically projects and like, man, not to laugh at it, but it really opened the world up. And it made me think like, wow, even if this next level technology existed, the world would still go on as the world. But then it also has so much where there's other countries and what they're doing with it. And of course, people illegally getting it. And, dictators, what they do to war criminals and traitors, they shrink them against their will and kind of just throw them. And then you got refugees that get shrunk and then try to sneak over in imported boxes. It was so much. And there's a love story actually that ends up happening that you don't expect at all. And it actually works so well. It works so well. And it's authentic and it is not forced, in my opinion. I think it comes about naturally as Matt Damon really had one idea. And it started out one way, very one note, very blue collar guy, regular old house, regular old family, just trying to, take that next step in life, decides to take this huge leap, and his world gets turned upside down when his wife doesn't come. Then he kind of goes back to being one note in Leisureland, but then one event changes his whole life, and he goes on a journey to discover who he really is and what he really can do. And it's powerful. If I had to say some negatives, it's definitely on the nose with its ideas, and some of its themes. Like it's subtle in some places really not subtle. But I think they do such a good job creating a world that when it smacks you in the face with the message, it comes in a different package than you've seen before. And so I really like that. And then, I think it's weird because there's going to be movies, and there are movies that get Oscar buzz right now for the same things that I think Downsizing does, but Downsizing doesn't get the recognition because it doesn't have those caliber of actors or directors or whatever. Like, everyone wants to talk about the world they build in The Shape of Water. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it looks like a nice set piece for the 50s or whatever, like a play. But this is an actual world for people that are shrunken. We're not talking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. We're talking about a real corporate taking over world created for these people. And then, like I said, the world where people aren't in the corporate area for the people that are poor. And so there's a lot of cool concepts with that. And I think the way they do it is there's so much detail in it. It's great. And then there's always movies that are going to get praise for their representation and diversity. The PC culture, that's a big thing. And if you ever listen to me, that's not my stuff. Like, I don't like diversity for the sake of diversity. Downsizing has to have the most diversity at any Hollywood movie, like natural diversity. It's not in your face at all. It's not going out of its way to show you diversity. It just happens. And I can't, unless I specifically told you how, I couldn't even explain to you. It's so natural. Like, again, watching this with different audience, you watch this movie, there are so many moments that you can recognize, people that you recognize. And I didn't think that would be possible in a Matt Damon movie about shrinking. And, there's people working jobs, there's people living life, there's people doing this and that. It's so authentic to me. And I think if you're a person that's not of color or anything like that, you would see a lot of people from worlds that you don't usually see. And even me as a person of color in an urban area, there's a lot of people from worlds, European and otherwise, that I know I would never have seen. And it was just so cool to see so many cultures represented without even having to think about it or having it forced in your face. So anyway, I'm gushing over this movie. My rating for it is going to be a 93 out of 100. I think it executes an extremely creative idea. I think it goes deeper than just that idea and expands it. I think there's well-rounded laughs, drama, and heart to it. It's well acted. It's well shot. It's well paced. The one thing I love about this movie is that they do time jumps a lot. And I love movies that utilize time jumps because it's like, we don't have to waste time. When you do a time jump, a lot is left to the imagination. And so I think it was just a solid A movie, and I would recommend you go out and see it before it's out of theaters. Anyway, so have you seen Downsizing, or are you thinking about going to see Downsizing? Go to the comment section, let me know. Thumbs up, subscribe, and if you heard it here, it's official canon.